My name is Pop Nelson. I'm from the borough of Queens, New York, out of Corona in Southside Jamaica. I'm here with the Tan Clan. You know, I got my nephew T, Thaddeus, and my brother, Big T, the curator of the Tan Clan. Okay, so you probably want to know a few things about me. The way we came up, or the way I came up, is because I come out of the church. And because I came out of the church, some of the things that, that I did, it was because those were my teachings. Those were my teachings. My grandmother, for the most part, she reared me. And she taught me how to be a certain way. She comes from like King Street, South Carolina. So you can just imagine, we're like a generation or two out of slavery. So, some of them ways, we picked up, and we weren't really brash. I didn't come from a brash family. Some of the things that I've come across or that I have done, it was like a learned behavior. That's how I'd like to look at it. It was learned behavior. And that was like because of survival. Survival is something else. Nature's first law is survival. And then the other times what you have to do is you have to get used to being the way that you will eventually become once you look at some of the people that you're coming up with, the individuals. One of the guys that made a real adverse effect on me was a guy named Tashin, right? And he was like our big brother. This dude was fearless, and all the guys that I come up with in my era, in my time, we aspired to be like Tashin. Tashin came from out of Brooklyn, out of Farrington, but he moved out to Corona, probably about like 9 to 10 years old. So he came into Corona with that Brooklyn, no holds barred attitude. And we started watching this guy because he had a swag. He had a swag that was out of this world. And he also had a knuckle game. He had a knuckle game. So he was teaching us different things. He taught us a lot. He taught me. I remember times I would be around him and he'd say, "Yeah, Pop, listen, man, I'm gonna teach you how to fight because you're going to jail." And at that time I was about 10 years old. So I didn't see jail in my future, so he must have been a prophet because that's just the way it happened to end up. But Tashin was one of the guys that I looked up to. I looked up to him. I really did because he was a bad dude. I mean, he looked like Mike Tyson. He looked like Mike Tyson. He was huge. He was real muscular. He walked on his toes. And I remember one day I said, "Ty, why do you walk on your toes like that?" He said, it's a form of isometrics. So I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I walk on." He said, and he always referred to himself as the third party. Always. He always referred to himself as the third party. When hip hop first started coming out back in the 70s, and we had the Twins and everybody in the park, and they were throwing jams, they'd have the ropes up and say, "Please, nobody cross the lines." Tashin would come in the park, and it'd be like they just invited him to come up there. Like, "Come on, Ty, we wanna hear what you have to say." So Tashin would walk up to the line. He walked on his toes, and he was a real big dude. He had to be about like 230, 240, solid, muscles everywhere. He'd go past the line, and he'd go take the mic out of anybody's hand who was holding it. And the first thing he would say was, "I'm T.Y., one to fly. What you say, do or die, T.Y." And I said, "This dude is crazy." I said, "He has to be crazy." But then guess what? The people that were really, really afraid of him, they never told him that, he sucked as an MC. They wouldn't say that to him. No one would dare say that to him because this dude he was that guy. And what I liked about him is he wasn't a bully. And he took up for himself. He took up for him and he took up for his family. If you were a part of T.Y.'s crew, he kind of taught you how to be. One of the first things he taught us, because he had an idea that I was going to be back and forth in jail was, you can't be a rat. He said you can't be with T.Y. and tell on nobody. So, you knew that you had to earn your bones. You knew that. He said you can't do that with T.Y. You have to hold your own. When something goes, you go with it. Okay, T.Y. And we would be like on the streets, like, in the park, and he'll bring us around there. He may have a pair of boxing gloves or two, set of boxing gloves, and he had like this little ring that he'd put us in. And he would teach us, like, yeah, man, you're gonna fight with him today, you're gonna fight with him today. And you kind of put it in. You kind of really, 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 put it in because you didn't want to disappoint T.Y. T.Y. was someone I really, 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 really looked up to, and I loved him. To this day, I love T.Y. He's deceased. He was murdered at about between 17 and 19 years. He was a teenager when he was murdered. 1979, we were on 104th Street between 34th and Northern Boulevard, which happened to be a notorious dope block. It had to be a notorious dope block. And, everybody ran down to the block and they said, yo, they just killed T.Y. They just killed Ty. And this was like again, 1979. And when it happened, it seemed like the whole Corona ran down to 112th Street where he was at. And by the time we got down there, he was laying on the ground. He was laying on the ground. And it seemed like all the blood just drained out of my face because this is like the first time that I witnessed somebody being murdered that I loved the way that I loved, like, Ty. That's the first time. It's not like I haven't seen anybody killed before. I remember when I was about let's say 10 years old, and I had an Uncle Thomas. And my Uncle Thomas looked like that guy from Spartan. Or the dude Michael Duncan, the big guy from the Green Mile. But he was dangerous. He was a real, real, real dangerous dude, man. And I remember when I was in front of the house and my Uncle Thomas got into a fight with a guy and he stomped him to death. And he dragged him across the street. Now, when that happened, I said, yeah, well, he must just be unconscious. But then, going back and forth, 2 or 3 hours later, that guy was still in the same spot. Brownfield was a tough town back then. It was a real, 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 real tough town. And he had to, it was like, he did what he did, and he was right there. He didn't go nowhere. They were real, real afraid of my Uncle Thomas. My Uncle Thomas had my little brother on his shoulders and went into the store and pulled a robbery. He pulled a robbery. So as we look down the block, we see my uncle, being chased fighting with some Spanish guys that had axes with my brother on his shoulders. I mean, you cannot make this up, man. You cannot make this shit up. It was crazy. He got my brother on his shoulders. You got some guys swinging at him with an axe. They're swinging at him with an axe. They're trying to kill his ass. And he was fighting them, and he happened to get an axe from one of the guys with my brother on his shoulders, and he was swinging at him. And I said, man, this is crazy. This is crazy. But that was like really, really the beginning, or like the first time, or the first few times that I seen these violent acts. So then after that, you knew, coming from where we came from, out in Corona, that they took advantage of you if you were weak. My Uncle Thomas stomped a guy to death for a black and white TV. He killed him and I seen him. He did. That's what it was crazy. The guy, he let the guy hold his television, and I think the guy broke it or something like that. And my Uncle Thomas, he stomped him to death. So it was crazy because once you start seeing these things, you become shell-shocked, and you don't even really know it. It's like post-traumatic stress disorder. And I was seeing that like left and right. I remember the bank on the corner of Brownsville was robbed every other day. They robbed it. They robbed the bank on the corner every other day. So I was used to seeing, like real adverse violence. But you know what? Living in Corona, there was no difference. Because this was the borough of Queens, which by comparison was supposed to be more calm than Brooklyn. But we had the Black Panthers out our neighborhood. We had BLA. We had a motorcycle gang called Soul Gears, and there was so much going on back in the 70s and into the 80s in Corona that it was the same things that were happening in Brownsville were happening in Corona. Corona was a real tough time, and I could tell. Because one of the reasons why I can tell was when I got in trouble and they locked me up, I was home. I remember going into the day room and I was looking at the guys and a little fighting in here. That was nothing. I seen that every day. I was placed in Rikers Island, C-74, Adolescent Remand Detained Center, ARDC. I seen some of the guys that would not come out of their cells. I came out of my cells because I was comfortable with seeing violence. And after a while, you just become used to it. And if it's not so much used to it, you become numb. You become numb. I was seeing like, guys, beat, stabbed, cut. And back then, it was like, yeah, you know what? There won't be no snitching in here. Snitches get stitches, and flowers over ditches. And that's just the way that it went. That's the way that it went in there. And so that's what was jumping off. So after a while of being in, C-74, I was convicted. I was convicted of a crime, violent crime, robbery. And I was getting ready to go upstate. So that meant that I was going to Elmira. So going to Elmira, you hear all the rumors about what's what and how's this gonna work and how's that gonna work. It was a lot different. So you had to prepare yourself. Not actually seeing it, watching it, but guys, being raped was the thing back then. If you couldn't protect yourself, them guys would rape you. They were raping you. Rape was the current thing back then. Rape was the current thing back in Elmira at that time. If you couldn't protect yourself, anything your family sent you, you was giving it up. So I already had in my mind, that you wouldn't be fucking me, you'd be fucking a corpse. So you weren't fucking me. So I already had that. I won't come home from being in a situation like that. So guess what? I had to learn quick. I would look at some of the guys that beat me there and some of the guys that were doing a lot of time, and I learned from them. It's like, one of the things that I picked up was, that a person couldn't see you coming. A person could not see you coming. You know, you had to be like this real suave and debonair person, but you had to be the most violent individual in that jail, and people had to know that you would hurt them bad. If need be, you would kill at the drop of a dime. And I've seen the fights like that with guys, would fight to the death. So I started picking up some of their ways just watching them, because I didn't want to be taken advantage of. We were in a maximum security prison, and all these little different things were going on. The cops, were a whole bunch of, hillbillies. They didn't care about us. They didn't care what going on. As long as you didn't put your hands on one of them, you was okay. It was funny. No, it wasn't funny. But I remember when we first got to Elmira, and, when they parked the bus outside of the jail, you could hear all the screaming and all the yelling. And I said, damn, I gotta go in there? Yeah, you know what you did. You know what you did. Yeah, you going in there. So we got up in there, as soon as we walked in, the officers started shouting out directions. And you had to follow that direction to the letter. He said, get off the bus and grab a bag. Not your bag. Grab a bag and put it outside. So that's what we did, got off the bus. But they knew there was gonna be a herb in the crowd. They knew it. They said, there's gonna be a herb in this crowd. You just watch and see. And it was just like they said. One guy went and got his bag. And when he got his bag and put it down, they kicked his ass. So after they kicked his ass, I guess they were just used to it. He walks in, he says, one of the officers walks in and said, listen to this. I don't care who you are and where you're from, you're in Elmira now. And here are the rules. You could be shorty doo-wop, bebop, lop, whatever you want to be. But you're gonna listen to us, because me and this key are the closest thing to God you niggas are gonna see for a long time. At one time, they had the 5% nation that was out. And it was out back then. So when you came into Elmira, you knew that you had to be, you were usually gonna be a Muslim or you're gonna be a 5%er, because they dominated the jails at that time. It wasn't the Bloods, it wasn't the Crips. It was none of that. It was the 5% nation, and the Muslims. And usually, you went with, one of those crews. A lot of people sought protection in one of those crews. Just like now when you go to jail, they got the Bloods and the Crips or whatever it may be, or any gang with them. So it's a protection. But back then, that's what it was for us. And usually it was a gambling debt, a drug debt, or somebody getting picked off over, like a homosexual affair, whatever it may be. And that's just, that's what happened. So those three things I said I'm gonna have to stay away from. So that's what I did. After I come home, this won't happen again. But it happened again and again and again and again. So, being in prison is like, like having like a second family. It was crazy, because when I came home from Elmira, I made my bones. It was like, yeah, he made his bones. He didn't tell. He wasn't messing with homosexuals, and he held it down. I was on the boxing team, to hone my skills. I had to get the skills together. But all that did was made it easier for me to come back, because when I came home, 60 days later, I was right back in the 4 building. So, went back to the 4 building, laid up, got in my, stayed in a whole bunch of bullshit, started shit and everything, because I'm one of the big guys now, because I made it through Elmira. I made it through the L. I'm the man. You can't tell me nothing, because I held it down. I held it down. I did what I did. Everybody knew me. So, I started making these different prison connections, But Elmira wasn't the only prison that I've been to, I remember back in the 80s when, when HDM was open, me, Cat, Pap, Pappy, Mason, man, there was so many of us. Prince Miller, my cousin Nacy, Haitian Jack, Calvin Klein, God Bless the Dead, House, Patty Hearst. These were like the common names at that time. They had the real 50 Cent, his name was Shamik at that time. Sun Guard, these were the guys that were the movers and they were the shakers. They were doing their thing back then. So after, being released from Rikers Island, got in trouble again. So when I got in trouble again, I had to pull another state bid. This time, and this had to be about 1986. This is 1986, they sent me to Comstock. They said, hey, Comstock is gladiator school. Yeah, really? Yeah. I got up there, I knew everybody in Comstock. And again, it was like, it was the usual customers. Again, Pappy, good, I love Pap. Prince, See, what I'm doing is I'm not, some of these guys went bad and they told. So I'm trying to make sure I'm not mentioning none of you guys who ratted. If you ratted, I'm not gonna mention their name because what they did was they spoiled everything. They spoiled this thing of ours, like the Italians say. So I'm just focusing on the guys that would stand up enough that I can mention their name. Supreme Team, Baisley. I have another friend that I grew up with, which is John Cuff. Cuff, you stood up, man. You stood up. He stood up like a man. He took his weight. Okay, so now I'm in Comstock. Notorious. We had an officer there called German, and German would slip a knife on you. He'd put a knife on you. Hey, look what I found. Take him to the box. They get you down there and beat you and beat the shit out of you. German was a mess. I remember one day I was going to the visit, and he pulls me over. So he pulls me over. He never really did like me. Loudmouth. I thought the world was mine, and he patted me down. So after he pat frisked me, he says, "Yo, look what I found on him." I looked at German and I said, "Yeah, that's not gonna happen, German." And I walked away from him, and he started laughing. He was like, "Yo, get back here." I just walked. But I had been in the jail long enough for a lot of them cops to already know that him going on the visit, he's not gonna carry a knife with him. But that's what it is. German happened to get prosecuted later on, or they made him retire. One of the two, either he was prosecuted or they made it, or both, because they had a drug ring with the cops, the sergeants in Comstock. Comstock was a tough jail. So after being in Comstock, the 90s came in and I got locked up and they put me in Clinton Dannemora. And I was in Clinton for about like 9 years, another tough jail. But again, by that time, I was one of the big boys. I was one of the big boys in Clinton because I've been coming to jail really now from a kid. I was going back and forth to prison. We got used to it, I remember for like the whole 90s, like I was in Clinton. That was like my home. It was funny. I remember when Tupac came in, and when he came in, man, everybody was like, "Hey, Pac, this, that," Pac is here. It was like he was the Messiah. And another thing, it was crazy because I remember they had a nasty rumor out that said that Tupac got raped. Tupac did not get raped. That is a fucking lie. That is a straight lie. They did not rape him. He was an APPU, which is the acronym Adult Preparation Program Unit. So for anybody that spread that lie about Tupac, I didn't like that East Coast, West Coast thing, but Tupac did not get raped. I was a peer educator. I gave out the aptitude test in Clinton. Yes, I gave out the aptitude test, and I was an HIV peer educator and all the rest of that. So I know that Tupac did not get raped. So that's a lie. That was a fucking lie. You know, so, you know, again, you know, and, you know, I'm not gonna stick up for my boy, because, you know, Haitian Jack is my friend. Me and Haitian Jack came up from kids. We came from kids, man. We were kids together. And, you know, I loved him, you know, real smooth dude. But he was another, you know, guy that would explode in a second. I picked up some of my moves from some of the guys that was out of that time period. I picked up a lot of my little moves. Sitting there watching them, they'd be calm 1 second, and then the next second, they explode like a grenade. Okay, so now, Clinton, same things that go on in jail, but it wasn't a whole bunch of raping now, HIV was out. But there was a whole bunch of fighting, stabbings, cuttings all the time. And if you wasn't on your job, if you couldn't protect yourself because you're in a maximum security prison, guess what? You got the business. Okay. So now, you know, being in Clinton for the 90s, I said, you know what? I done finally made it to the big time. I done been to every jail that you can be in the state. Greenhaven and the rest of them jails that were like close to the city, I didn't get lucky like that. I did not get lucky like that. I didn't get that. You know, it was kept me upstate. But then I said, yeah, you know, I've been through all the tough jails. You know, everybody knows me. You know, I'm laying my legend game down. I come home. Once I come home, I figure that's it. No more prison for me. But then I catch a federal conviction. I get the federal convictions back early 2000s. So then I said, you know what, nothing for nothing. You know, this is a lot different than the States. So what they did was, they say, because, you know, I was involved in a shooting in the Queen's House back in 91. And what happened was, you know, there was a gun found in the Queen's House, a .25 automatic, and, you know, they said that, you know, that I did it. Well, one of us, one of 3 guys that was in my cell, we had a gun, and they said that this guy shot these guys. So they turned me into a CMC. A CMC is a centrally monitored case or controlled monitored case. That means that you gotta watch this motherfucker because he's a security risk. So I had that moniker before I even got to Clinton. That's how I even got to Clinton. I had to be a CMC because I had to stay in a maximum security, you know, jail. So when I got to the feds, I thought, like, you know, the feds, and the state's the state. They said, no, that's not the way it goes down. So when I seen my counselor, he says, yeah, you know, well, you know you know that you're going to a USP. So I said, what is a USP? He said, a United States Penitentiary. So I said, again, what is that? He said, it's a Fed Max. He said, you're going to a Fed Max. So now I knew that I was going to a Fed Max. I said, okay, now how am I going to do this? I've been everywhere else. I wonder how this is going to turn out. So they sent me to Terre Haute, Indiana. It's called Terre Haute, Indiana. But it's called, you know, everybody's nickname is like, yo, Terre Haute. So the 3 worst jails in the whole federal system is ADX, which is in Florence, Colorado, Bloody Beaumont, which is in Texas, and Terre Haute, which is in Indiana. So they had me, I landed in Terre Haute. So, you know, when I got there, you know, they had a picture of Dillinger. I said, what type of jail is this? They had a picture, somebody painted Dillinger, that he was from Indiana. I said, okay. I get in there and you start learning real quick because that's where if you get executed on the federal level, they execute you in Terre Haute. They have the terrorist unit. This jail was like no other jail, you know, that I've ever been to. You know, for the most part, everybody in that jail were doing serious, 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 serious time. I didn't have enough time to really be in that jail, but because of my violent past and me being a CMC in the state of New York, they said you have to be in the United States Penitentiary. Okay, when I first got there, I'm walking around, just doing my little thing, getting familiar with some of the people that I did and meeting new people. See, your reputation always precedes you. So my reputation preceded me. I had some of the guys from not the neighborhood there that was there, and different things, guys that I've known from previous bids. So, I was there about like probably 2 or 3 weeks, and they had a guy from Ohio that came in. So he comes in, big dude, he's big dude, big, healthy, young dude. And I was talking to my man, Don Q. He's one of them Gary, Indiana boys. He was out of Indiana, but he's one of the Gary, Indiana boys. They put it in too. They do their thing. So then, we sitting there doing our numbers, and, the guy looks at me, and he says, and so Q says, yo, hey, Pop, why is this dude looking at us like that? I said, because I didn't pull that Rikers Island trick on his ass yet. So he started, so Q started laughing, because, they hear all stories about Rikers Island, being in different jails. So he said, yeah, I said, yeah. So then he looks over, he says, yo, I don't know what these guys think or anything, but I ain't afraid of anybody on this compound. He started going in. I was like, this guy must be nuts. So I said, yo, man, I'm ready to lock in, man. I'll see you in the morning. By the time that I'm walking into my cell, I'm already figuring out what I'm gonna do to this big motherfucker. He was a big dude. So I'm looking for bleach, like putting the bottle and, carry low. I mean, all my little Rikers Island tricks, I said, I'm gonna tear this dude up. But I didn't have no weapon. So I said, man, I'm looking for one and how I'm gonna take this big motherfucker down, because he was a big dude. So I said, all right. Early the next morning, he walks by my cell, and he's looking. He looked in my cell. I played possum on him. I let him walk by. When he walked by, I started packing my stuff up, and I said, I'm gonna tear this nigga ass up. And I went to the closet to act like I was gonna clean up my cell, but the closet was locked. I was looking for the push broom, the ones that you push. I was gonna unscrew it and I was gonna tear his ass up. I couldn't find it, couldn't find nothing to take him down with. So I said, yeah, he gotta get it Rikers Island style now then. This was gonna have to happen. So I waited, went in the cell. When I went in the cell, when he walks in, this is what I was taught, take him down. Kill the head, the body's gonna follow. As soon as he walked in there, everything that I could hit him with, every lesson that I learned in that boxing ring, I put it on his ass. I put it on him. I mean, let me tell you, I had this motherfucker looking like he fell out of a tree. When I hit him above his eye, if you're a boxer, you know that the thinnest layer of your skin is right above your eye, and it meets the bone. So all you gotta do is hit it, and it's gonna split right open. So I split his eye open. I had him looking real, real bad. So when the cop ran down the hallway, dove on me, I said, yo, this ain't between me and you. This is me and him. He said, yeah. He said, okay, I got you. He was like, look what he did, look what he did. Found out the dude was a coward. I said, okay, cool. Sit there, they take me to the box. I was already used to doing box time. I've done that from a kid. There's a difference between being lonely and alone. There's a difference between being lonely and alone, and I learned that a long time ago. Lonely is a very negative connotation. Depression and everything can sink in. Alone is solitude. It's peace, if you can handle it like that. And that's the way I handled it. So I go to the box. I laid up in the box about probably like 5 or 6 months I laid up in the box. Then I come out. So when I come out the box, they put me back in the unit. They moved him out of the jail. When I get back, the guys saying, yeah, New York, you put that work in, da, ba, ba. I said, my name is not New York, my name is Pop. Yo, listen, my name is Pop. My name is Pop, man, So they said, all right. So I happened to get locked up with, one of Chicago's, one of their notorious, gang leaders. And his name was Don Smokey Jones, R.I.P., rest in peace, Don Smokey Jones. And me and him became real, real tight because we were old timers. We were old timers. Yeah, we were real, I was locking next to him. And he was a big dude too. He was another big dude. So he said, New York. I said, what's up? I said, Smokey, you know my name, man. He said, yo, Pop, what's up, man? I said, let me ask you a question, man. He said, what's that? He says, yo, that dude could have been anybody, man. And you just made a move on him like that. I said, well, I don't prescribe to that gang thing. So the way I come in here is the way I'm gonna leave. With my feet in the air or on the ground. But when I do leave, I'm gonna be a man. It just is what it is. And he respected that. And me and Don Smokey Jones got real tight. He was a member of the Gangster Disciples. And if I'm correct, he was Larry Hoover's co-defendant. And back then, especially being in that particular jail, you know, them dudes, you know, had a discipline. They had a discipline. And you know, they followed the rules of their leaders, you know? And then we had the DC boys that was in there with us. And a lot of the federal jails were populated with them because they don't have state jails in DC. You know, they had a jail called Lawton. You know, because they're like the 13th District of Columbia, so they sent them to Lawton. Now, everybody know, if you've been to the feds, man, them DC boys, man, you know, they've built up quite a reputation. It's like they'll do anything. They'll do anything. It's crazy, you know. Hey, I ain't no fag, I fucked him. Nigga, you a fag. You, that's what you are. Nah, I fucked him, he ain't fucked me. The Mexicans too, same thing. Terror Hut running around there, you know, back against Terror Hut. You know, it was just a whole bunch of things was going on. And then I remember when I got there, and I would see the AB boys running around with swastikas on, tattoos with, I mean, beautiful artwork though. Swastikas, pictures with Hitler on them, you know, tattoos with Hitler, and that shit was killing me. Oh, it was killing me. I could not, let me tell you, man, it was something else. I remember at one time I said, you know what? I'm gonna get in good with the DC boys so I can start another fight. I'm gonna start another ride with these fucking white boys because I can't take this shit. I couldn't take it. So I remember one of my boys from, you know, out of New York, you know, he told me, he says, Pop, let me ask you a question. I said, what's that? He said, do you know in certain things and in certain places, you know, that this is offensive? I said, what are you talking about? You know, you running around acting the way you acting, that's offensive to some people. I said, man, please, man, look, what's your point? He said, man, them dudes do what they do, man. You gotta leave them alone, man. Nobody tells you what to do. Nobody tells you to do this and don't wear your sneakers like that or don't. Nobody tells you that, Pop. That's their own business, man. If they come at us, then we gotta do what we gotta do. But you know, just turn a blind eye to it. Just turn a blind eye. It wasn't like they was running around nigga. They wasn't doing that. But you knew that them AB boys would put it in on your ass. You knew they'd put it in on you. You knew the Mexicans would put it on you. Because when I got down there, that's the first time that I knew that a Mexican could be 6 feet. Because in New York, they're like 5'1" and 4, you know, they're not really big, tall dudes. These dudes, I was bumping into them, they were brown, and they were like over 6 feet, big dudes. And they were like, yeah, man, no, I'm not Puerto Rican, I'm Mexican. I'm like, Mexican? Yeah, brown pride. Okay. They hung out with each other, especially in the feds, because the feds are geographical. So then you learned how to be, you know, you had to be a certain way. You know, because the feds were very geographical. So that means that if you're from New York and the 4 numbers are 053, 054, 055, and 056, those are the 4 numbers that they use to designate you or where you from. 053, that's where I'm from, Eastern District, Brooklyn, Queens. 054, Manhattan and Bronx. So that's how you could tell who your homeboys were. And it was crazy because once I got there, started being there for a while, I started seeing people that I've heard about a long time ago, that they were just there. I remember when they put me in Butner, North Carolina. We had Carmine Persico there. And he had been there for, I remember that case back in the 80s. I was there with Carmine Persico. Real personable, happy, funny dude, man. Him and his nephew Teddy. Teddy was my boy too. But I loved Carmine Persico because, he was willing. Any other time, I'm sure that I couldn't have gotten a conversation with him. I couldn't have got 1,000 feet next to him, when he had his reign. But now, things had changed for him. I got to be around him. And another dude, it was funny because I remember when I was going to Chow and I seen Bernie Madoff. But he didn't look like that Bernie Madoff that y'all seen on Wall Street. He did not look like that. He looked tattered because the feds broke his ass down. The feds broke. I said, that's Bernie? That's Bernie Madoff. That's Bernie right there. I said, oh shit. I said, yeah, that's the motherfucker that took all that money, right? Yeah, but he ain't got that here. Feds broke him down, man. He was living, but he wasn't on the upper echelon of the tier with us. He wasn't. He was, some of them dudes didn't like what he did. But he didn't, for me, he didn't rape and kill, or he wasn't no pedophile. So he did what he did. He laid his game down. Fuck it, So he was all right with me. Bernie was all right with me. I remember he gave me a book, the Prosperity Bible. I remember he gave me the Prosperity Bible. He gave, and he would sit there and say, hey, Pop, this, that. So I was like, yeah, hey, Bernie, I know you got some of that money hidden somewhere, man. Yo, man, put your brother down, man. He says, Pop, you're crazy. But, because people didn't talk to him a lot, he was, you could tell that he was lonely. So I would try and, I would talk to him. I knew he wasn't going to give me the secrets to where he got that money hidden either. I knew that part. But I was trying. I was cracking like, yeah, man, I know you got a few of them, but where you put that money in the pipe? Yo, man, listen, man. I'm telling you, tell me where the money is. I'll send you some hoes up here, man. He's like, some hoes, Pop? I'll send you some hoes up here, baby. I'll put you down, man. I'm telling you, be straight, baby. I'm telling you, baby. He was like, no, Pop, nah, man. I can't trust you. Why? Because I'm black? Nah, Pop, I can't trust you. Carmine Persico, another personable dude. I mean, he was it. I remember I would sit there and I would go and he would snap jokes. I would roll him to the mess hall because he was in a wheelchair. So me and him got we got cool. I kind of looked at him as like my white grandfather. So one day I was sitting there and I was talking to him. So I said, yeah, man, you know what? Hey, Mr. Persico, they letting me out. I said, what do you mean? He said, they're letting you go? He said, I'm gonna have to do something about that, Pop. Now, what am I gonna do? Who's gonna push me to the mess hall? I said, it won't be me. I said, but you know what though, Mr. Persico? He said, what's that? Don. He said, what's that, Pop? I said, man, I gotta ask you for a favor. I said, I hear the Italians are big on that. So he laughed. I said, yo, I have a favor to ask of you. He said, what's that, Pop? I said, man, I'm gonna need you to make me a made man. He said, a made man? He says, oh, no, Pop. He said, I'm a bit of a traditionalist. Any other conditions, I would, but I don't know. I don't think the people would like that, Pop. And me and him, good thing. Good thing between me and him. I remember when I got cool with David Mack, D-Mac. D-Mac is the Tupac cop. We were in jail together, David Mack. And we go to, we sit there and go to church together. We sit there and go to church, and get up there, get up there, sing, have fun and everything. He was a Washington fan. He liked the team, the Redskins. And me and him got cool, and I was sitting there looking like, yeah, this is a dangerous motherfucker. You could just sit there and tell by his moves. Dave was a dangerous dude, but he was cool. Dave was a dangerous dude, but he was cool, man. Yes, he was, man. So I got to meet him. I said, you know what? You know, on all my travels, I'm getting to meet a whole bunch of different peoples. I remember being a CMC in NIC, and we had Nasir. I got to meet Nasir. Very interesting people in my life. Nasir was the imam who was charged with that first World Trade bombing. Ramzi Youssef, we used to be in the same little visiting room because we were all CMCs, me and Nasir. And I said, damn, look at this shit, man. I can't believe it. Sit there, you watch the brother Nasir. He was there because they say he killed Rabbi Meir Kahanic. So I was just sitting there meeting people. Larry Davis, the same thing, man. Larry Davis, we was together, and he was something, man. But, it takes all kinds. Larry Davis was together with us. Who else? Jughead was with us. Shopon Adams. Mark Adams. These some tough Brooklyn kids. These some tough Brooklyn kids. They had, Mark, he had a body or two. And I got cool with him. I got cool with him, man. So I was like, I've met a whole bunch of interesting people in my lifetime. You know what I'm saying? So being in them different spots, it taught you, it really turned me into a people's person. Because a lot of times when you placed under them different, surroundings and different situations, you become a good judge of character where you got to think on your feet. You got to think real quick. You got to think on your feet. You got to be right there, and it makes you a good judge of character. Music was the place that I went when I was sad. Music was the place that I went when I need to think, And it started off in church, Greater Mount Horizon, holiness. We had a choir director. His name was Billy Wangs. By all accounts, all the stuff that Kirk Franklin and them guys is doing now, back in the 70s, Billy Wangs was doing that. You talk about a showman, Billy was the man. He was the man. So I remember sitting there, being there with him and everything, and I remember me, my brother and my sister, me, Reese and Terrence at that time, we'd make up songs when we had nothing to do. We didn't have a lot of things to do. We would make up songs. You know what I'm saying? Me and Terrence be outside, man. We come up with, if there's a song that's on right now, and it's like, let's say for instance, Night Fever. We flipped Night Fever. We flipped Chic, I Want Your Love. We were flipping song after song after song after song after song. It was beautiful. It was crazy. So then, again, we had the church. We had the church, man. And a lot of the members of the church, it was crazy because a lot of them could sing. There weren't that many people in Mount Horizon that could not sing. And it was, and you picked it right. You picked it right up. And that was the truth. So I remember, knowing that I liked music. I liked it. So I remember one day, my cousin Deborah was messing with this guy named Ronald Penn. And this had to be like late 70s because he was the bass player for Evelyn Champagne King. He was a bass player for Evelyn Champagne King. So one day he says, hey, Poppy, man. He said, every time I come over here, man, he said, yo, you be taking care of Kuda. He said, yo, do you want to go to the studio with me? I said, to the studio, but why? Of course I do. He said, yeah. I said, yeah. He said, well, get ready, man, because a little while I'm coming to get you, and I'm taking you down to the studio. So I didn't know at that time that he was playing to get the bass guitar for Evelyn Champagne King. I did not know that. But he was playing the bass guitar for Evelyn Champagne King. So when we got down there, we sit there, he starts talking to the crew. He starts introducing me. Yeah, this is my cousin. By the time we get over there by, Evelyn Champagne King, she looked at me like I was like a sack of shit. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, what was that? Like, what is that for? Yeah, so I wasn't a real big fan of Evelyn Champagne King because that's what she did. She looked at me like I was a piece of shit, like I was a sack of shit. So I wasn't a big fan of hers. I just wasn't. But he was on her crew. So then after that, they were practicing What You Won't Do for Love by Bobby Caldwell. So as he was singing the song, What You Won't Do for Love, I say, you know what, nothing for nothing, her father was he was sitting right next to me. So I started singing too. So when she was singing, I was singing, but I was singing and I was sitting right next to her father. So I did not know that was her father. So it was like, what you won't do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up. So I was like, okay, I'm sitting there doing my thing, and her father gave me like the look, like, hey man, you sound pretty good. So that happened to call on more hate from Evelyn. And she was a star. She wasn't supposed to do that. But that's what happened, man, Went through that session, and she told him right at the end of the session, she said, do not bring him back. She said, do not bring him back. Now, what she should have did or what she could have did was, she could have said, hey, man, listen, man, I'm going to make you my backup singer, and we're going to do this, and but she didn't do that. I wonder why. Do you think it could have been hate? Do you think it could have been hit? I think so. Because the way she did it, she didn't want me there no more. So, okay, that was my first real experience inside of a studio. At that time, I had to be 13 years old. Approximately 13 years old. That's approximately 13 years old, man, yeah. So after that, let me see, Nacy had a crew called Ultimate Sounds. He had a crew called Ultimate Sounds, yeah, that's what it was. And he would bring them in, and we all be singing. And I started saying, yo, I'm getting kind of good at this. And then about 1977, I think, is the year that Saturday Night Fever came out. Once Saturday Night Fever came out, I knew that I liked them. I liked music. By 77, I kind of knew. I said, you like music. Yep, I said, you like this music. So I started listening to it, and I just kind of became good. That's kind of what it was, man. I got good. We had a crew which consisted of me, FaZe, my brother T, Finesse, Tokyo Kid, we had Brenda Reese, was my sister. We had a little musical set that was coming out, amongst us. And I was like, okay, well, we could do this. And we started making up songs, but they were usually songs that we converted. You know what I'm saying? We usually have converted songs. And, we kept that up, doing the converted songs until, what song was it? We did a song called, it was Night Fever. Yeah, and the song was hot. The song was hot, man. The song was real hot. I can't front it. It was a real nice song, man. It was hot. The song was hot. And then we got to do, it was crazy. We got to do, me, Shorty, Terrence, we did a song, and the song was, I Know the Way You Feel. It's like, I know the way you feel. And it was crazy because I remember doing it, and I remember thinking like, yo, we done we done finally made it. But the truth was, it wasn't like I wasn't a real fan of that song. Because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. But guess who did understand it? Terrence understood the song. He understood. He was like, yo, yeah, that's right. It was Terrence. So when Terrence did the song, right, it was crazy, right? Because he did a part where he was going, I know the way you feel. I know the way you feel. I know the way you feel. I know. So he was doing that, right? But it wasn't my note because Terrence was like, he was using the baritone note, and I was using like a second. I was like a second tenor or so. So I'm sitting there doing that, you know, and he was like, nah, that's not the way it goes. No, I said, Terrence, that's not the way it goes. Terrence, what did you just do? Yo, he sung that part, he sung that part into the song, and it took about three sessions, man, for me to get that back in my head right, man. It took about how many sessions did that take us, man? Can you remember? It took about 3 sessions. He came there and he came in there and he took it over. And you know the craziest thing is, and why I was glad, is because later on in life there was something else that came about with that particular song. And the reason why I knew that I was dead spot on is when I started going, I know the way you feel, I know. Once I did that, I said, that's that song. That's that song. That's what happened. And that's how I knew, because he had sung that particular into the song. Terrence came up with that little spin to it. It was hot. It was hot. And because of that, I was really able to connect with the song. I was able to do that because it's the way Terrence did. And I said, there's no way that that's not the song, because it hit smack dead on. So when we wrote the song was I Know the Way You Feel, and the song, the music was stolen. The music, it was our melody, and that was stolen from us. And the craziest thing is, you know, if you played Jeff Red's song, that song that Jeff Red recorded, You Called and Told Me, and if you play I Know the Way You Feel, they're both the same songs. They're both the same songs. And it's not like I don't know, because I've been in the industry long enough to be able to decipher this with that. I've been there long enough to be able to do that. And I was like, you know what, nothing for nothing, man, these dudes beat us. And we got beat. I said, they beat us. They beat us, man. Yo, and the song was crazy. I remember we were so happy. We sitting there doing it. We didn't really, we were just breaking into the industry like that. We were just breaking in, man. We were so happy, man. It was funny, man. I remember when we finished doing the song, we got it notarized. Together, we got together, we were out there in Rosedale. And we sat there, man, and walked to the mailbox together and dropped the letter inside the box. Remember it like it was yesterday. It was like one of the happiest days of my life. You know what I'm saying? It was like one of the happiest moments of my life. I said, we done finally made it. Because now we finally got a song, because we completed the song. We completed the song. We completed it, man. I said, we good. And T was like, yeah, man, that's it. That's it. Yo, we got it. You know, me, Shorty, and Terrence, man. And I said, man, this is our life. We got it, man. And then, you know, when I became incarcerated, you know, I didn't get to hear it no more. So I guess nobody else got to really, like, you know, delve deep into it neither. And then I sat there and said, yo, one day I was like, yo, this song sounds just like our song. That's the truth, man. I was like, what is this? They said, yeah, man, you know, that's the song. So that song, the music was taken from us, you know? So that was one of the things, that's one of the times in the industry that you knew and you learned that something like that can and will happen. It was crazy. That's when you learned that. Like, you know, these people will take your music, man. You know, the industry was real. It was tough, man. I've been there with Mark Anthony, J-Lo, good friend of mine, Luther Vandross, DMX, God bless him, Eve, man, Celine Dion, Destiny's Child, yes, before they became, you know, before Beyonce laid her game down and did her thing and took over, yeah, man, loved them, Destiny's Child, who else? Faith, Jill Scott, man, the producers, Tim Kelly, you know, Corey Rooney, you know, because he's the one who brought me into the game in terms of, you know, me working at Sony. That's the one who did that. You know, Corey Rooney, he brought me in. You know, he definitely put me on, he put me down, you know. So all them other dudes, I was just around so many, it's like how many people, I mean, Fat Joe, 50 Cents, Freeway, let me see, there's just so many. The guys that win are the guys that are willing to let all the way go. You have to let go. All the guys, forgot about my man Aaron Hall. Me and Aaron Hall, we grew up in church singing together too. But all the winners, the guys who become the stars and hit them high marks are the ones that are willing to let all the way go. You gotta let go. Because if you don't let go like this, then you're not gonna hit them high marks that they was hitting. But if you let go, you're gonna hit them marks. That's the only thing between, you know, the guys who doing their numbers and the guys who ain't. They're not. That's the truth, man. You know, I like I said, I remember one time when we were in Hit Factory. So me and Tamar were going downstairs. That's Tony Braxton's sister, Tamar. So Tamar seen Luther Vandross. When she seen Luther Vandross, we was in Hit Factory, and she was like, that's Luther. So she said, yeah. So I said, hey, Lou. I said, what's going on, Lou? He said, hey, Pop, how you doing? God bless him. I said, yo, man, that's Tony's sister. She said, I love Tony. He said, I love Tony. So, you know, they struck a little conversation, they did their thing. You know what I'm saying? So I can remember that. I can remember being outside of the studio, and they used to have jam sessions outside. Rap stars. You have like fucking Rough Riders against some new crew that just may be coming out. I've seen that, man. Beautiful. It was nothing better than that, man. And every time a situation like that would jump around or happen to pop up, it's usually D from Rough Riders, man, who was willing to, like, you know, do his thing. D was a good dude, man, because he used to like to see people win. D used to like to see people win. Him and X. But D was the, you know, he was the producer, laying his game down. He wanted to see people win. That's what he wanted. Man. He'd sit there, you bring your boys out or you bring your boys in, and D'll have his whole crew. Rough Riders was it. Man. At that time, they was definitely it. I remember that joint, what's that joint? One song, dun, 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 dun. That shit was so hot, it was ridiculous. And then you know, I was Little Kim fan. Can't forget about I forgot about Little Kim. I was in the studios with Little Kim. She was my heart. I had a little crush on Kim. Kim, I had a crush on you, baby. You do know that. I hope you do. Kim was it, man. She was definitely it, man. And I loved her. I loved her. So we had her, you know, Mary J. Who else? Who else have we been in the studio with? My favorite person in the studio, you know what? I love and respect music so much that that's a real hard question. Because I love music, man. I love music, man. I sure do, man. And you got, you know, you just have to be so, I love it. You have to be so nice. You have to be so nice, man, you know, till you would say, who could I say? I tell you about the people that let go. I remember, let me see, I watched, who did I watch really? I watched a lot of them guys, man, just let go. And especially at the beginning of their career because they're hungry. But I'm talking about the singers. Who are the singers? Who are the singers? Who are the singers? Who are the singers? Beyonce, as a for instance. I remember when Beyonce came in there, man, and she tore that song down, man. I said, man, Beyonce is talented. You know what? Yeah, damn, what was it? I've heard like Beyonce she lets go, man. She'll let go. I watched, you know what's funny? Do you know I watched Let Go too? I watched T-Pain let go. T-Pain was nice. I remember people didn't think that T-Pain could sing. They was like, man, this dude can't sing. T-Pain was nice. You know, Kenny Lattimore, Joe. Oh, Joe. How can we forget about Joe, man? How can we forget about Joe? Joe was hellified. Joe could sing his ass off. Joe could sing, yes he can. Yeah, Joe was nice. How can we forget about Joe? Joe was nice, man. Yes, he was, man. Yes. Let me see, who else? Huh? Oh, you gotta remember Mark Anthony. You gotta remember, yo, let me tell you, man, I remember we went to Mark Anthony's concert. We went to Mark Anthony's concert, man. It was like, man, he tore that spot down. We were at the Roseland. We was at Roseland, man. And Mark went in Roseland and tore it down. Yes, he did, man. Mark was a bad boy. Mark, yo, man, listen, man. Mark was it, man. Mark Anthony, oh, that boy can sing. Yo, even if you can't speak Spanish, all you gotta do is listen to Mark Anthony sing. Hellified. If you haven't ever went to a Mark Anthony concert, you have to go to a Mark Anthony concert really to appreciate music. You had to, because he was so nice, it was ridiculous. I remember for the Madison Square Garden, and we were right there. You know, we VIP, and we sitting there, we talking about this, we talking about that, and he was like, yeah, he just did his thing, man. Yeah, Mark Anthony did his thing, man. When he did the song My Baby You, he was crying. He was crying, man. You know, oh, man, how could I forget? God bless the dead, man. May he rest in peace. The great. I should have said him first. Man. Ron Grant. Ron Grant had to be the nastiest dude on the planet. Yes, he was, man. Yo, he was that dude, man. Ron Grant was hellified, man. Ron Grant was hellified, man. Oh, I says, how does he use his voice like that, man? He used to do the showcases for Sony. And he would come in there and he would put on a show, man. And I couldn't wait for the times when he say, Pop, come on up, Pop. And I get up there, you know, I get my little 3 minutes of fame. And I try to lay my game down too, like, yeah, let me get this record contract, you know, jumping off. But I didn't really want that. And you know what? Even talking about that, man, you know, sitting there seeing these people, and seeing that. It was crazy how some of the most talented dudes there got taken advantage of. You know, everybody think that the industry is so sweet. Yeah, it can be sweet if it changes your life for the better. But then you get in there and you see, man, how they do, man, and how they treat some of the, some of the underlings, man. It was crazy, man. It was crazy, man. You know, you get there, you trying to do your thing, you doing your best that you can, and then a person helps dismantle your whole life. Helps dismantle your whole life, man. I just could not believe it. I couldn't believe it, man. It was crazy. You know, one time I said, man, I'm not listening to music no more. I'm not listening to this no more. It wouldn't be fair if I didn't shout out my idols. It wouldn't be fair. You know, I have been influenced by Quincy Jones, the Dude album, which is one of my favorite. Marvin Winans, Lionel Richie, because he's a songwriter, mean songwriter. Marvin Winans because he's a songwriter and singer. He's crazy. And Quincy Jones because this dude, man, he's like the best. He's like the best ever, man. He is it. So those three, those are like my real idols.
You ever see Michael Jackson in the studio?
Who?
Michael Jackson, you ever seen him at the studios ever?
You know what? I remember when he was there, but what they did was they filled out what's that? You had to sign a waiver that you couldn't talk about him. You couldn't talk about it. You know, so they filled out a waiver that you couldn't talk about it. You know, Corey wrote the song Chicago. Corey Rooney, he wrote the song Chicago for Michael Jackson. So, you know, there weren't a lot of people, especially in that time, that I did not get to see. I remember like one of the big ones was Celine Dion. I remember, you know, when she came in, you know, and I remember her, I can remember her producer, which is Vito Lapreme, something like that. Vito Lapreme, something like that. Yeah, him. So, you know, let me see. We were talking about some of the best singers, right? We were talking about some of the best singers. Well, again, you know, Kenny Lattimore, Marvin Winans, Charlie. Well, these are like some of the voices that I like. You know, crazier than nothing else, neither, right? One of the craziest things is, man, you know, and you know, I don't know. I don't even know how this, even if I should say it, because you know what, you know, man, let me tell you, man, R. Kelly was a bad dude too, man. I'm sorry, I don't know if you can talk, I don't know if it's politically correct to talk about him or praise him because he's being accused of something, you know, in his past, whatever. He has an accusation that's been passed against him. But if you take all that away, and you say, you know, you base it on his merits of how well man, R. Kelly was a bad dude, man. You know, talking about singing, songwriting, and you know, from what I understand, he was like almost like functionally illiterate, and he was coming up with hit after hit after hit. You know, You Are Not Alone. You know, I believe I can fly. I mean, you know, this dude has a catalog, man, of songs that, you know, are crazy. And because of the way, you know, I was raised, you know, we don't give them a break. We don't give them a break. If you have that like in your history, and that, we don't excuse that. So I can understand why people would. But you know, just like talent-wise, R. Kelly was a bad dude. I don't know if I can even say that. I don't know if I can say that. You know what I'm saying? You know, if we knew what some of the people that we bought their albums was doing, you know, you would probably be disgusted. You would probably be disgusted because that industry is crazy. The industry is crazy. The industry was crazy. You know, loaded with a whole bunch of everything. You know, predators. The industry is filled up with a whole bunch of predators. It's just,
What do you mean? What do you mean?
the music industry, is filled up with a whole bunch of, predators, people that are willing to place their agenda above your own. They're not really in there to help you. They want to make sure that they can get whatever, ever they can get out of you. That's what they're trying to do. They don't care. They don't care. You get people that worked for years for free, and them guys don't pay them. They don't pay them. It's like they're interning for nothing. They're interning for nothing. I know it. Fact. Work for years and don't get paid. Because you hoping that he's gonna be true, or they're gonna be true to what they're telling you. Like, yo, man, this is your year. This is your year. This is your year. I'm telling you, good. Just sit there and just stay the course, man. Everything's gonna be okay. There's a whole bunch of that in the industry.
What do you mean? What do you mean? This is your year. Stay the course. What does that mean?
That means, all you gotta do is keep working for free, and this year it's gonna pay off. You just have to show your loyalty. They don't say that part, but they make inference of it. Some people make inference of it. Just gotta show your loyalty. We just gotta know that you loyal and you can make the cut, because you gotta be able to. You got to be able to make. You gotta be in the fit. You got to. So don't get paid this year, and then the next year. I'm telling you, and then that year comes up. First thing they say is, this is your year. And they know all well they have no intentions on doing anything for you, because they don't want to relinquish that spot. A long time ago, I heard and I learned that you have to always be leery and weary of a wealthy man's advice, because usually they don't want no company. You have to be leery and weary of a wealthy man's advice, because usually they don't want no company. They don't want no company. What do they need you for? I got everything I want. What the fuck do I need you for? You see them guys, with houses in Beverly Hills, mansions, with, a whole bunch of, shine, Ferraris, and, things that you couldn't even pronounce. You aspire to have that stuff. So you know what? If you have someone that has has a nice gift of gab, and they're willing to be as trifling as you or anybody else to get what they want and to place their agenda of your own, you can believe that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna do what they gotta do to get it, and they don't give two shits about you. They don't. They really don't. They don't care about you. No, man. So when you ask me how do I feel about it, the industry provides it provides a place or a station for people to obtain some of their lofty goals. That's the whole idea, is to obtain some of your lofty goals. If you knew all you had to do was be a good garbage man and it's gonna turn you into a multi-millionaire, there's a great chance, man, that garbage man's position would stay full. It would stay full. Everybody would want to be a garbage man. Everybody. But that's not the way it is. You see some of the, when you see some of the stars come in with, man, I've seen some stars come in with shit, man, like ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. I'm talking about, I'm a watch fan. So I see some of the guys coming with them real Peugeots and Rolexes and every other name watch brand that you could think of. And then they have like this $300,000 car outside. When you're young and you're in good health mentally, physically, and everything else, and you see stuff like that, that's what you want. And that's what the industry shows you, that you can meet this. You can have this. If you look at Fifth, I really, really appreciate 50 Cent, man, because, I remember when I first, got to meet him. Fifth was real as they come. He's as real as they come, man. I remember we used to be walking up and down Guy Brewer, man, and his focus was sharp. He was sharp, and, I knew that he was gonna win at all costs. But what I like about him, he wasn't the type of dude that was willing to be a trifling piece of shit to get it. He was a hustler. He said, I'm a hustler. And that's what he did. He was not willing to be a trifling piece of shit to get or to accomplish his goals. He wasn't doing that. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't. You know, if you look at him, you know he's in tip-top shape. And for anybody that doesn't know, 50 got a knuckle game. Fifth got a knuckle game, you know? And if that was the case where he had to put the gloves on with some of these industry dudes, yo, man, he'd give a lot of them the business. Trust me, he would, man. He would. But he wasn't willing, he isn't willing to, do the slime ball shit to get what he has to get. You know, you understand what I'm saying? I remember one time, man, when 50 got shot. Once 50 got shot, man, I was really, really hurt about the way some of them motherfuckers talked about him behind his back, man. I was really, really, really hurt, man. Because they tried to appear to be so sincere. So sincere. But that was not the case. And you know how come that wasn't the case? Because when he came up out of his position that he was in, he was no longer a part of Colombia. He was no longer a part of Colombia. And believe you me, it wasn't just one motherfucker that did that. It was a group of people. And then when I love M because M put my homeboy on, when he sat there and they kept, and because of his talent and did his thing and came up, I loved M. Because he put my boy on. He had a natural talent. But if he knew how all these so-called friends of his were his friends, then you'd say, oh shit, because they weren't. And they do that to everybody. It ain't just him. It's not just him. They've done it to me. They've done it to a whole bunch of the guys that have come through. A whole bunch of the girls that have come through. Yeah, they've done that. They've done that. But you know what the old saying goes, you get by, but you won't get over. You will get by, but you will not get over. And that's the way it works, especially when you do stuff like that to these people that really trying to take care of their family, trying to make a way, trying to do something, and then you trick them. It's trickery. Your day will come. Your day will come. Your day will come. I know that I've done some things that I'm not proud of. Yeah, I've done that. But I've tried to keep it at a bare minimum. I've tried to keep it at a minimum. But let me tell you, being in that industry, I've seen some of the shit that them dudes was doing belonged in the streets. They was worse than some of the street dudes that I came across, man.
What do you mean?
Their trickery, their lies, their deceits was worse than some of the things that I've seen in the streets. It was worse. You sitting there, I've seen some of these dudes sleep with dudes' wives on a regular basis. I've watched dudes sit there and take care of their friend's woman, and they're messing around with them. I've seen that a whole bunch of times. When you in there and you sitting there, you fucking your people's woman, your people's baby's mother, as a for instance. And you in the industry, you're supposed to be this real moral cat. No, that's not what you are. You're a piece of shit. And then it's usually the punk motherfuckers that really can't protect themselves. But then they put themselves in that very prone position. They put themselves in that very prone position. Nothing for nothing, man. If when you sitting there and you telling somebody this lie, and then because that person is telling you that lie, you have to go home to your family and tell them that lie because you perceive it to be the truth. But then after a while, that's not the truth. You just hoping that things will change for the better. That's what you do. You're hoping that things will change for the better. You know? It's not, I find out in the industry, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Who you know opens the door, and what you know is gonna keep it open. And that's really the way it works. That's really, 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 really the way it works. I remember talking to a dude, I just told my boy Preem, man, I said, yo, man, to gain the admiration and respect of your peers is the true measure of success. And it's also a testament of your character. But you have to also remember that character is easier to maintain than it is to rebuild. But because some of these dudes live in a fantasy world that's beyond anybody's stretch of the imagination, because they happen to have made it, you know, you just kind of wonder. You wonder. Some of the guys that like I said, man, some of them guys and girls, but it's not really so much the girls. They go through hell. A lot of them women go through hell to get what they gotta get. A lot of them. It's the dude that they place in this position of pontificateness that sits there and do what they do to keep you down. I remember they said it's a long list of lies perpetrated by the man to keep her brother down. But that's not what it is. It's a long list of lies perpetrated by the brother to keep another brother down. And that's just the way it works. Because nobody's really, really, really willing to relinquish what they have to help another brother that's down. And what they ain't really, really knowing is, as soon as you put that dude down, you putting him in a better position, you put him in a better station in life. And guess what? There's a great chance he's gonna reciprocate. But if you don't give him that chance to do that, he'll never do it. He'll never do it, they'll never do it. You just continue to be a liar, a cheater, a piece of shit. That's really what it is. That's really what it is, man. You know, when you sit there, you talk about, you know, the industry, it can provide. It can provide, man. I'm in there, man, watching people that don't deserve that Grammy. I'm sitting there watching people that didn't really earn that platinum status have it. That's not fair. That's not fair. It's not fair, man. It's not. When you work hard, you expect to be paid the equivalent. You expect it to be paid the equivalent of, you know, what you done dished out. It's the truth. And when you sit there, you be loyal. They just sit there and try to find different ways, man, to trick you, to fool you. That's what they really try. That's what they do.